Senator Joni Ernst, Republican of Iowa, member of the Armed Services Committee and chairwoman of the Republican Policy Committee, is in focus with me now. Boy, I tell you, this is deja vu all over again and again and again. What really does it take to make this look more like free speech rather than a free-for-all to hate Jews and hurt them?
Right, Harris, this is absolutely un-American, and many of us have worked on this issue now for the past year since the October 7th attacks, where we have these elite universities that are allowing these types of demonstrations or protests that get way out of hand on their campuses. So I would agree with Congresswoman Stefanik that no taxpayer dollars should be going to these universities. And I've called on the IRS to examine the 501c3 organizations that are backing these protests and see if they have violated any of their tax-exempt statuses by backing these protests. We've worked on anti-Semitism through the Department of Education. They have a legal obligation to ensure that our Jewish students can go to classes and do it freely without the threat of violence or hatred coming from these protesters. So there's a lot of work to be done, but bottom line, Harris, these campuses, these elite universities, they need to step up and do the right thing and make sure that education is available for all.
Well, and it's interesting what you say, how you've tied it to money in this particular way for these very, wealthy schools anyway. I mean, if you take away the taxpayer dollars, and some might scratch their heads to know why they're even getting any of that, that'll put even more pressure on those donors. And so if they got to dig deeper to actually fund more of this, and it's not on our backs as taxpayers, whether we would have kids that would go there or not, that's a really interesting way to take a big stab at this. Real quick last thought, and we'll move to the next.
Yes, absolutely. And those donors need to think very hard about what they are funding. And I think that they would have a very different opinion about how their dollars are being used at these institutions.
Well, Israel is still fighting terrorism on all fronts. It's, as we know, going after Hamas after those savages attacked them on October 7th. That war continues. 332 days of that now. In Gaza, as well as taking on some new actions to the north of Israel along its border with Lebanon against the Hezbollah terrorists. The IDF has hit a rocket launcher being used by the group in southern Lebanon. Meanwhile, President Biden is putting pressure on, no, not the terrorists. No, he's putting pressure on Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu to do more to secure the release of the hostages being held by Hamas. That's after the Israeli military found 6 hostages dead over the weekend, and one of them an American citizen, as we know. Peter Doocy got into it with the White House. Watch this.
In the president's public comments, why is he harder on Benjamin Netanyahu than he is on the terrorist leader of Hamas?
The president has been very, very clear about Hamas leaders and what they have done. He was very clear on October 7th. He has been very clear multiple times thereafter on what Hamas has done. He was asked a question, he answered it directly, but Hamas is responsible. They have more American blood on their hands.
Well, critics are tearing into the Biden-Harris administration's response to all of this. Michael Goodwin titled his column, "Feckless Biden and Kamala have thrown Israel to the wolves with their ignorance and betrayal." A former Bush Middle East official also ripped Harris's handling of Israel. Watch this.
Throughout these last few months, before she was the nominee, Vice President Harris made a series of statements very critical of Israel and how it's operated since October 7th, including saying that Israel cannot go into Rafah. The idea that Harris is dictating or had been dictating that Israel can't go into Rafah is very disconcerting.
Senator, last week, and we have a picture of you meeting with the Prime Minister of Israel, Netanyahu. You met with him and committed to always standing with Israel and continuing to work to rescue those hostages. Look, I am flabbergasted by the fact, and a little bit more about that emotionally, so much more, it's only an hour show, about the fact that there's no outrage right now. An American was executed by terrorists after being held for them for so many days. And the White House really tacitly does nothing. They come out with a few words, but come on, where is the action now? We can go in and rescue our own people. Your former military, would you advocate that we go get our own people now?
Well, Harris, I've been advocating for the release of American hostages since October 7th, since we lost over 40 American individuals in the attack. We had 8 that were taken into Gaza held hostage. And since the loss of Hirsch Goldberg, Poland, now we have 4 that are presumed to still be alive. God rest his soul. We need the United States to stand up for our American citizens. And so I'm advocating that our military do whatever possible to get our American hostages back. It's very complicated in that region, but long term, we need to make sure we get, in the short term, get our American hostages back. That's number one. But in the long term, what we have to do is stand by Israel and make sure that they have a long-term Israel, not something that will go by the wayside over the course of the next few decades. We can't continually give away Israel. The Jewish people have to have their home, and that is Israel. So the United States needs to stand up. Kamala Harris, where the heck has she been? Where has Joe Biden been over the course of the last 300+ days of this conflict? We never hear them talk about the hostages. We never hear them talk about Americans that were killed. If this had happened anywhere else around the globe, we would have had retribution. And we do not see that coming from this administration. Why? Because if we go back to the previous segment, the college protesters, Harris, that is Kamala Harris's base. They do not want a long-term solution for Israel nor the Jewish people. So let's remember that when everybody goes to vote this November. We need a long-term commitment to Israel. And let me tell you what, Kamala Harris is not going to stand up and do that.
Look, we know who they are, though. I mean, this administration doesn't go get Americans in trouble. Look at Afghanistan. There were so many people behind the lines of the Taliban and the terrorists there after our 13 American servicemen and women were killed at the airport on our way out of that country after 2 decades of war. We tried to deal with the Taliban. That didn't work. I mean, this administration wanted to deal, remember, just a few weeks ago with Hamas. They've got the whole thing upside down, and none of it includes sending in specialists like you were in the military to go get our people. All right, let's get to this. It keeps getting worse for the USS Secret Service, if it could. In the wake of the attempted assassination on former President Donald Trump, new information is creating some even bigger questions around the quality of training and staffing decisions with the Secret Service agents. Republican Senator Josh Hawley says whistleblowers told him personnel are, quote, woefully unprepared to properly protect the presidential candidates. Let's watch.
What I've heard tonight, Jesse, is that most of the agents who were there at that rally in Butler were not Secret Service agents. They were, in fact, Homeland Security agents. And get this, most of those Homeland Security agents, the only training that they received was an online webinar, a 2-hour online webinar. It is absolutely outrageous. Now, why aren't these guys out there, Secret Service and FBI, doing regular briefings, answering questions, giving us answers? They're not doing any of that. They're hoarding the information. They're keeping it from the public.
Wow. A 2-hour online webinar. The Secret Service responded to Hawley's claims just this morning, so they must have hit home. Here's a quote. Respects the role of oversight. We know that the United States Service does. To date, we have provided over 1,500 pages of documentation to Congress and have made employees available for transcribed interviews. These efforts will continue as our desire to learn from this failure and ensure that it never happens again is unwavering, end quote. No mention of the alleged training concerns of the staffing at the Butler rally. The bipartisan House task force investigating the shooting has requested interviews with local police and more information from them. This seems like a hot mess sandwich, and we're all choking on it.
Harris, you are absolutely right. There is no way this is acceptable. This is a former president of the United States, Donald J. Trump. He is also our candidate as Republicans to be the next president of the United States. And to handle it in this sloppy fashion is absolutely unacceptable. And Senator Hawley is correct. It is outrageous. Never, ever could I imagine training for such an important mission and using teams. I cannot imagine as a young company commander saying to my soldiers, okay, folks, we're going to sit down and we're going to look at a computer and that's going to train you for your next mission. That is not acceptable. Yeah, it is not acceptable. So, Harris, we've got to stay on this. We do have our role as the United States Congress and oversight, and we will get to the bottom of this.
Thank goodness for that. Senator, thank you for your time. Good to see you.
Thank you, Harris.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.